Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So today, I wanted to have a discussion about villains and redemption, how villain characters can be redeemed. And while not all villain characters will be redeemed, there's always a chance that some villain characters will be redeemed, and I really wanted to go into that. So sit back, relax, I hope you all enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. So now I know what some of you are probably thinking. The initial thought going to your mind is, villain characters being redeemed? That's insane! But, truth be told, sometimes villain characters actually have the possibility of being redeemed. There is something known as a redemption arc that some characters will go through, and in the end, they will learn from their mistakes that they made prior. This can really help further the development and the growth of said villain character. And after going through a redemption arc, doesn't mean that they'll necessarily become a full-on good character, but that doesn't mean that they're full-on evil or on the side that they were in the beginning. Now, if they don't go full-on good, then they could just be neutral, doing their own thing, and sometimes help out the protagonist characters when they really need them. But there's always the possible chance that some villain characters can actually be redeemed. Now, of course, not all of them can, but there's always that chance out there that they can develop, that they can redeem themselves, and that they can become more than what they were known as prior. And I really want to go into that, because when you look at some of the antagonist characters in RWBY, there's always a chance that some of them may be able to be redeemed. Now, not all of them will be redeemed, but if the writers really want to go into it, and that's still a big really, if they want to, then yes, they can actually redeem said characters. So let's kind of look into this for a minute. Because when it comes down to it, your villains, yes, they're going to have their own reasons for being a villain. Sometimes they're going to have that reason because of revenge, because of something happening with someone that they're going up against, that they oppose. It could be the fact that they're fighting on the side of the antagonist because they believe that their way is just, even though it may be immoral. And then there are just some times where characters just love to be evil for the sake of being evil, and there is no form of redemption in that matter. So let's take a look at Emerald, for example. Let's start off with her character. So if you look at Emerald, the song I'm the One was the start to telling us about Emerald's story, about how she was abandoned, that she had no one that loved her, and that she rose out of filth. Essentially, that she was seen as human garbage. She was seen as a nobody because she had no one herself. And so because of that, she felt like no one could ever care for her. But when you look at it, Emerald has an attachment to Cinder, and that is because Cinder has been like a mother figure to Emerald, teaching her things that she probably didn't already know, and really helping her become a better person. But at the same time, Cinder gave her the affection that she wanted from what a mother would naturally give their child. So there's that, and this could bring Emerald to have redemption in the future because of the damage that her character's had because she hasn't had anybody before. And let's take a look at Mercury, because he's in a very similar situation. So, if you think about it, looking at the song I'm the One, which is both Mercury and Emerald's theme, this theme doesn't just teach you about Emerald, but it also teaches you about Mercury and how he had an abusive father. And Volume 6 goes further into details of the story, about how Mercury's father, whenever he would train him, while he did try to teach him to be a mercenary, he would then take advantage of the training and then proceed to abuse Mercury. And Mercury's semblance was also stolen by Marcus, and Marcus told Mercury that it was nothing more than a crutch, and that if he wanted to get his semblance back, that he would have to defeat Marcus in order to get it. Well, of course, Mercury did defeat Marcus, but in the end, he killed his own father. So, while Mercury did go through this abuse, he did go through this pain, at the very same time, this made him train to become better, to become stronger, and he did gain something from this. He did gain the knowledge of hard work and dedication can get you somewhere, at the same time as, dead dad memes when it comes to Mercury's father. But, you get what I mean. But overall, there is still a chance for redemption when it comes to Mercury and Emerald. And I think that there is a chance that rather than them becoming fully good, they'll be more on the neutral side if they do fully get redeemed. But now, looking at Hazel, he's another interesting case, because if you think about Hazel's character, he's based off revenge. And while Volume 5 poorly just fast forwarded his story, I mean, realistically, it was just so rushed, it was bad. But at the same time, his ideology makes sense about how he is against Ozpin for the reason of, hey, look, you led to my sister's death, I want revenge on you for that. Now, while this does make sense, at the same time, there is a chance that Hazel himself could be redeemed as a character, and while his story was rushed and it was poorly written, at the same time, he has a good reason for being an antagonist character. And when it comes down to Hazel's character, there is still a chance for redemption here. It's not like he's full on bad. He didn't even want to fight, realistically. And he thought that Sienna Khan's death was meaningless. He didn't think that there was any reason for Adam to kill Sienna, which I think he had a good point for that. But at the same time, when you look at it, he has a chance at redemption as well. That he is not a full-on evil guy, that he has his reasons for being against Ozpin, how he doesn't agree with the Hunter program and how it works. And it makes complete and total sense why he as a character could actually be redeemed sometime down the road. Now, this next one is going to be a big one. So when it comes to Cinder, I think personally, if they write her correctly, that she could be redeemed as a character. Now, hear me out on this one as to why I do believe this is possible. And I really want to go into why I believe this, and I want to talk about Cinder, the good and the bad, when it came to her writing as a character, because there have been the high points for Cinder's character as well as there have been the low, and some of this would make sense as to why she could be redeemed in the future. So, let's take a look at Cinder. So one big thing that a lot of people need to think about when it comes to Cinder's character is that Cinder has a weird ideology because, yes, people think about how, oh, well, she wants power and that's all she's about. I think that she's more than just wanting power, and you really start to see that if you go back through volumes 1 through 3. Now, yes, she makes a statement, I want power, but there's more to it than that. So let's look at the whole fall of Beacon. Now, when you think about it, she did expose Ozpin for what he had been hiding. She did try to talk about how he had tyrannical rulership, and that with the Atlas military, for example, and how they had been hiding Penny to be basically a weapon of war, Cinder believed it would be the right idea to expose Beacon for what they had been doing, to expose Ozpin for his secrets. And yes, while this did lead into many lives being lost, Pyrrha's included, as well as Penny's, it was a very sad time for Beacon when it fell. But if you look at Cinder's character in Volume 4, for example, one thing that's interesting that they started to do is they started to seem like they were trying to develop her character, because Cinder does act like she is a bit in fear when it comes to being around Salem, and also at the same time, if you think about her peers, they do put her down. They treat her awful, and Cinder does seem to get the worst of it because everybody continues to just make fun of her and treat her as if she's nothing more than a child in comparison to everyone else, that she isn't as good as everyone else. Now, that could be an insecurity complex, because if you think about it, whenever someone's being insulted and someone wants power, that could be because they feel like they're inferior, and that power could be the way to maybe make them think that they will put them on the level of everyone else to show that they are worth something. And that was an interesting route they were starting to take with Cinder. And now the biggest problem that they started to write in at the end of Volume 4 and throughout most of Volume 5 was Cinder was then starting to be based solely on revenge for Ruby's character. Now, this does feel very out of character for Cinder, considering that she is a very intellectual character, and she just started to fall out of character, really, whenever they made her based off revenge in this way. And it just didn't really feel right. Now, towards the end of Volume 5, they tried to transition her back to her planning ways, and tried to plan around Raven because she caught on to Raven and how Raven was going to betray her, but at the very same time, she does lose this. And what was good, though, even though she lost this battle, she did start to go back to scheming. She did start to go back to planning, and that's Cinder's character. So that was a good thing that they did do. But then, when we go back into Volume 6, here's the big problem here that happens yet again. So Volume 6, while Cinder does start to try to go after the relic and try to go back to her objective, the problem is they make her go back into the whole revenge scheme yet again, because she makes it about also trying to kill Ruby. And this is a problem because it seems like that development they were trying to go for when it comes to Cinder's character really just kind of got thrown away, and then they exchanged it for revenge. And it just didn't feel right for Cinder's character, considering that she's always been a very intelligent character. She's been one to plot and scheme and outsmart other characters. I mean, after all, her plotting and scheming did bring down Beacon, and she did start to expose Ozpin and some of his secrets and who he really was as an individual, but at the same time, they then just throw a lot of that away for just revenge. And the big thing you have to remember when it comes to characters and redemption is the fact that they aren't always evil. There's something that always makes them go to the path of what may seem evil or immoral, and Cinder may have had to do things that were immoral to try to bring down Ozpin. And I think that there's still a possibility of her redemption as a character. We don't even know her backstory. We don't know her origin, which is a very important thing that we do need to learn. Hopefully the writers will actually make an origin for her. But the important thing is that when it seemed that she was trying to expose Ozpin to the people, to teach the public of his wrongdoings, it seems like there was some good in there, even though there was an immoral way of how she went about it. But it seems like there is a way that they could redeem her character. Now, I'm not saying she would become full-on good, but I'm not saying that she would be evil either. I'm saying that she could be a neutral force and be her own side. I think that there is the possibility for redemption for her character. And if you think about it, let's look at Raven, for example. Raven also was an antagonist character. She was a character that believed in the strong live, the weak die. She also killed a young girl because she had believed that she wasn't strong enough to survive in the world and take the powers for herself. Doesn't sound like the idea of a good guy, because you would think that if you were good, would you go and kill somebody because you believe they were weak, and then just take their abilities that they had from them just so they could be yours? Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Doesn't sound like a good guy, in my opinion. But at the same time, Raven also seems to start to be going through some redemption, or at least some form of it, and she has remorse for what she's done. She also was afraid of Salem and Ozpin, and it seems like that they're probably going to redeem her character and probably make her good in the end. So it just depends on where they go with it. But at the same time, look at Neo's character. Neo is here for revenge because she lost the one person that was important to her, which was Roman Torchwick. And while she is going for revenge, which, wonder how that sounds familiar. Seems like a running theme within a lot of the antagonist characters of RWBY. But anyways, the thing of it is, Neo still has a way to be redeemed as well. And yeah, while she did work under someone who was a con man, at the same time, we don't know where she came from. Yet again, this goes back to the whole, we don't know the character's backstory, so we can't say why they joined said person and became an antagonist character. And there could be some good in Neo. Neo seems like a very bright character, and seems to be one to listen to reason, so she might listen to RWBY, and RWBY could be the one to explain that, hey, I didn't actually kill Roman, that he died by an accident. And then that could make Neo think about things, and who knows, she could come to the conclusion that it wasn't actually RWBY's fault in the end. And I will say this, though. If they don't try to redeem Neo's character, and if they just decide, well, let's kill her because we brought her back, and that's all that's important, oh yeah, you better believe there's going to be a rant if they don't try to at least redeem her character, or if they don't try to at least give her respect if they're going to kill her, because, oh boy, I will rant. I will rant. Very, very badly. It won't be funny. It will be pretty bad. But at the same time, we have to look at how some characters will be redeemed and some won't, because some antagonist characters will not be redeemed. Some villains will not be redeemable. And let me explain why I say this. So, if you look at some characters, as I stated before, some characters fight for revenge. Some characters fight because they feel like they lost something important to them, and they feel that because they felt pain, that somebody else, that per se the individual that hurt them, they deserve to feel the pain that they felt, and they feel like the justice would come from the fact of hurting them in return. And so because of this, the one that wants revenge feels like they have to take everything into their hands to ensure that the one that hurt them feels the pain that they felt, and that they want to take away something precious to them as well, and make them feel the same pain in return. And it kind of makes sense that they would feel that way. At the same time, when you look at it, some characters are just evil for the sake of being evil. I mean, if you look at Tyrion and Watts, we don't know why they are with Salem. We don't know what their motives exactly are. We don't know what they even want out of everything in the end. And because of this, we don't know whether to say that Watts or Tyrion could be redeemable. Because maybe they're not. Maybe they're doing things for the sake of just being evil. If you think about it, Tyrion may be evil for the sake of evil, or it could be a deeper motive and he could still be redeemable. It's really something that is kind of hard to say because some characters, and it may be sad to say, but some of them will not be able to be redeemed at all. I mean, if you look at Lionheart's treatment, for example, he joined Salem because he was afraid. He was in fear of his own life, and he was afraid that he was going to die, and he thought that there was no way to beat Salem. So he betrayed his own best friend, Ospen, so that he would just try to ensure that he would live in the end. And, yeah, well, how did that work out for you, Lionheart? Instead of redemption, instead of trying to stand up to Salem, no, he dies. I mean, yeah, he was going to expose her. That's why he pulled out his scroll right before the Seer Grim starts to attack. But yeah, he dies. And he doesn't go through any form of redemption when he could have possibly had it. He could have tried to overcome his fear, and he could have actually tried to stand up to Salem, and he could have died still, but he could have been redeemed in the end, but instead they just decided to let him die as a coward, and Salem had a good point about that. But if you look at Salem, Salem is a character that could be redeemed as well, and more than likely, considering that she's immortal and she can't die, that's probably the route they're going to go in the end with Salem's character. They're probably going to redeem her in the end, and that's how they're probably going to stop her, which I wouldn't be surprised if that being the case. But thinking about it like this, looking at Salem's backstory about how Ozpin did her dirty in the end, and how the gods were really not that helpful if you think about it, and they just bickered amongst themselves like children. Call them the gods of darkness and light. More like the gods of being babies. But, anyways, the thing is, when it comes to Salem, she felt like she was done wrong by Osmond, so she wants to make him suffer just how she suffered all the years after he did her wrong, in her opinion. And because she just felt like he was her world, and whenever he decided to just leave because they had different plans, they had different thoughts on how things should be done, yeah, she felt like she should get revenge on him. She felt like she had her family completely torn apart, and that's the big thing, is that she wants to get back at Ozpin and make him eternally suffer for that. So, Salem, in a sense, she could still be redeemed, though. I mean, there is still that quality. There could be something that somebody says or does that could redeem her character in the end, and then she could possibly learn the importance of human life and then go on to the afterlife. But the big thing that's always important is, not every villain is irredeemable. It's not like every villain is just doing things for the sake of being evil, that there could be someone that could come along, that could change their characters, that could make them see the errors of their ways, that can make them see good, and that could make them realize that their ideology or that their moral code was wrong, and that they could see that, hey, I was wrong, and I'm going to reform my ways. I'm going to become a better person out of this. They could learn from their mistakes, and they could still become better characters in the end. They can develop in this way, and a redemption arc develops characters. And while some villains are never going to be redeemed, some villains are not redeemable, the big thing is that not all of them are irredeemable. It's not like they're all like, oh man, I'm the bad guy, so I can't be redeemed. Yes, they can be redeemed. At least some of them can, and there's always a chance for some of them. But anyways, I'll be back again on Tuesday. Let me know what you think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Share this video with your friends if you found this informative or useful, and follow me on Discord. Link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow can always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.